everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are not done with Mob Psycho just yet. No, we still have a few more weeks left to go of Mob Psycho. At least this week we have the Reigen Arataka manga volume. I'm so glad that Patreon as well as YouTube told me about this because I was really sad. I was like, oh, I'm not ready for Mob Psycho to end. And then somebody was like, well, there's a Reigen Arataka spin-off manga. And I was like, wait, what? So we're definitely looking at that this week. And the next week we'll have audio drama to finish off our exploration of Mob Psycho. But I'm really, really excited, y'all, because you all know how much I love Reigen. Reigen has been one of my favorites since the beginning. I love Mob. I love Mob to pieces. And Serizawa is a big old giant teddy bear. He's so great. But I've always had an affinity towards Reigen because he's just that type of character. There's just like, he's the sleazy con artist with a heart of gold, and underneath that exterior of just being kind of like a con artist that wants to pretend he's a psychic, underneath all that is a genuinely nice person. And the relationship that he forges with Mob throughout the entire series is just so wonderful. And it's such a unique mentor-mentee dynamic that it's one of my favorites, I think, in anime and manga is the relationship between Reigen and Mob. Just that idea of how much Reigen has influenced Mob's life and how much Mob in turn has influenced Reigen. It's wonderful. So I'm really excited for this like 200-page manga volume. Reigen, the man with level 131 max spirit power. I'm really excited to see not only what this manga volume will give us, but also the fact that we're looking at a Mob Psycho manga, which is great, right? I definitely on my own time want to look at the manga. Once this is all over, on my own time, I want to look at the manga because I think that'll be a lot of fun. I don't know if I'll do a video or not on the manga itself. I've gotten so many other projects I want to work on. I can't guarantee I'll be doing a video about the manga, but I definitely will be talking about it in the Discord over on Patreon, and definitely will probably talk about it on Twitter too if I see anything that stands out. But I've got so many things I want to do this summer. I don't know how quickly I will get to the Mob Psycho manga, but it is something that I eventually want to look at. So it's on my to-do list, right? But this will suffice for now. So before we start, though, we definitely have to do a Reigen Thirst update, of course. And I want to say that I don't ever know how to say their name on the Discord properly. It's Six Yamings. I feel like I've said it wrong every single time. It's like SXIAN Mings. And so I've always been like Six Mings. But I know that that's not right. But they like popped into the Discord and was like, okay, here's a ton of fan art, go. So I have some that are just Reigen focused for this week since we're doing the Reigen manga. And then next week when we do the audio drama, I have some that are more Mob focused. And then any others I find will round out with that. And then I would like to have a live stream later to talk about Mob Psycho. I definitely want to do that. So I've got several live streams I want to plan this summer, and that's one of them. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I want to show you all these amazing pieces of art. Northern Light at JY Keeble posted this one of Serizawa and Reigen in like the sunset on a train. I'm a sucker for like the romantic trope of like the person with their head on another shoulder. It's just so cute. I love that so much. It works so perfectly. And then Appy art or Appy art. This one's probably one of my favorites of the group, but it's Serizawa and Reigen's like sitting on the desk like with his lap right there in front of Serizawa, and I love me a good awkward Serizawa. Like it's so sweet that Serizawa's like, yeah, I agree with whatever you say. And Reigen I love when a character in a potential relationship or a ship is flustered and is just like trying not to be flustered, and the other person is oblivious and they're like, what are you talking about? And they're like, ah! Like it's one of my favorite trope dynamics. I love it so much. And that art is just the little Reigen at the end going, what? It's so cute. I love it so much. But then we go from being very funny to very sensual with this one by The Young Doiler, which is, of course, Reigen with the cigarette like coolly smoking a cigarette and being like, "What is it, Serizawa?" And Serizawa was like, that dynamic too is amazing. And I love the caption is he's gonna eat him alive. I'm like, that is the one thing that is nice, that now that I've finished the series, I can look up all the Reigen Serizawa fan fiction I want, and I'm like, I won't be spoiled. And I'm like, yes, I can look up all the fan art. I can get on Twitter. I'm so excited. The floodgates have opened, and now this ship that I love, I can look up. I'm so freaking excited about it. I cannot even begin to tell you all. But that artwork, the black and white, the noir, Serizawa and Reigen in a noir environment, send me. I'm just all about it. And then I really like this one by @DFE7FF that is just Reigen in various poses. We have like him in like a middle school uniform, him like in a suit with his tie tucked into the little pocket. I like that. And then him in like the maid cafe outfit. Classic. I freaking love it. It's great. But honestly, I saved the best for last. My favorite out of all of these is this one by Smole Milky Ways, saying, "Y'all love this rat bastard." Yes! Him, that back shot, there's just something, I think that as someone that's older, that is not a teenager anymore, if I had watched Mob Psycho when I was younger, I would have been all about like Mob or Teru or Ritsu. But as a full-blown adult, I'm very much like Reigen and Serizawa, like, because they're adults, and there's just something cool about being able to ship adult characters at this age in a manga and anime that I really, really like. But man, they make Reigen look so freaking good. Bones makes like Reigen look so good. They know what they're doing. They are fully aware. So thank you so much for sharing those over on Patreon. I really appreciate that. But y'all, my dog is wanting me to play with him, and so I'm going to try to avoid him until I'm done reading the manga. But I'm really excited, y'all, to talk about this and show you all this manga as well. I'm pretty excited. So we're not going to waste any more time. Ever since I got this manga, it's been sitting in my Kindle waiting to be read. So I'm like, yes! But we are going to start Mob Psycho 100 Reigen, the man with 131 max spirit power. We're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. This was absolutely wonderful. Oh my gosh. I loved this. I loved this for so many reasons. One, I loved that it starred Reigen, but it was also Tome. And I loved that it was a really cute, like, coming of age story for Tome, because I feel like she's been such a fun character in this series. And really, I liked that she was kind of like a big side plot throughout the entire series, was Tome, and kind of like coming into her own, understanding her own identity, and just like coming into herself, and the fact that she loves the cult, she loves aliens. And what I loved about the series was that at no time did anybody in the telepathy club or mob or anybody kind of like downplay or dismiss what she likes. And Reigen doesn't do that either. It's just Reigen wants her to find out who she is and not try to be something that she's not, right? And what I loved about this manga was that it was mainly focused on Tome and how Reigen kind of influences her in this. And this would be such a great movie. Like, I was thinking about this reading it. I was like, it's way too long to be an OVA. It would have to be like a series of OVAs. But if it was a movie, that would be amazing. Like a Reigen Arataka movie, I'd be all about it. I'd be like, yes, animate the hell out of this Bones. You know, in that climax where Reigen takes the spirit on himself, which we'll talk about that scene, you know Bones would animate the hell out of that. And the scenes with Serizawa, like fighting against the spirits and doing the exorcisms, like there'd be so much. And Hoshida, I kept talking about Takanaka having like a crush on Tome and being like, oh, I really ship Takanaka and Tome. And everybody on Patreon, the Discord, were like, yeah. So I'm wondering if they read this and were like, but Hoshida. Because Hoshida having the crush on her is so cute, right? But this was so wonderful. Leave it to one. I feel like as a mangaka, one likes to take what's so hilarious, so freaking funny about this is that the girl Rika Alba, she like has a whole backstory. Like there's a moment where she like has a whole like giant double spread dedicated to her entire backstory, and it's like one goes on a tangent of like she could be the main character of this entire series. She has like a background, a secret cult, like her family's been running like this secret training dojo. She's like been set to be this heroic figure. She's got like 5 other people that they just name drop random names to that she's connected to that we will never see for the entirety of the manga. Like she could literally be the main character at any given point. And yet, one goes, yeah, she's way over here. We're talking about this girl at Pepper High. It's so wild. Like, and I love that, like, the Alba girl, she, like, is doing all the tropes, the toast in her mouth, like, everything that this story could be about. Like, if it was about a superhuman. But that's not how one works. One is all about the layperson, the everyman, the ordinary person, and making them the main character, because that's more relatable, right? That's what's kind of more intriguing in the long run, right? But it's just so fascinating. I was like just floored. And what I love about this is that by the end, what I like is that Tome never compromises who she is. Like the whole scene with all the girls and the chit chat and the tedious like girl talk, I so understand that, because when growing up in high school, I could relate a lot to Tome-chan. Like I was into Lord of the Rings, I liked comic books, I liked video games and Pokemon and like stuff that was like not girl talk. And I was never one of the girls that was like, oh, let's talk about our boy crushes. I was never like that. So seeing Tome like in the classroom saying, I lack inspiration, these things are tedious, I felt that because I could so relate to Tome. And I was lucky enough to have a small group of friends who did share the same interests as me, kind of like a telepathy club, where we all kind of shared similar interests, even though we were very different people. And I got lucky because of that. Because if I had been like her, surrounded by a bunch of these girls talking about just like mundane, boring, like drama, stuff like that, I'd have been so bored and would have been just like her. And I love that by the end of the series, by the end of it, Tome doesn't compromise who she is. She still is able to be who she is and even brings out the other interests of the group into the open. Like the one girl that likes manga and draws it. The girl that eats bugs. Why not? The girl that like watches different things or has this like weird kind of hobby and stuff. Like she's like, no, tell us your hobbies. Like it's totally fine. Like the things that we think ourselves do that are weird are what make us special. And that's kind of one of the things I love about this manga is the theme of like just these ordinary, seemingly mundane things make us so much more special than just like a superpower or something like that. Like I love that. I love that one's philosophy is like, it is, you know, you don't have to be special to be important. And you don't have to be special to be relevant or worthy. And that's just, it's such a good thing, right? But yeah, I love that this manga is an extension of the manga. This manga is an extension of the anime of the season finale. Because we have Mob in cram school for trying to get into high schools. Like seeing Mob at the very end was like the perfect cameo. He's like grown up, and we'll talk about him and Reigen's relationship when it happens, but I love it. And Reigen, here's the thing, Reigen is himself, but he's an adult at this point. He knows who he is. Right? He knows he has the con man persona. But I love that he accepts Tome working there, that she's not getting paid. She's doing it for fun, right? And I love that Reigen's like, okay, look, can't you go do something else? Don't you have friends? Don't you have other things you can do? But she wants to do this job. And so Reigen's like, Reigen's a sucker for kids. He can't say no, right? I love that Dimple's back. I love that Dimple's in this. And I love that what we find out when she's talking about the toast trope in the first chapter is that Reigen figures out alongside Tome that they are very much the same people. They both kind of like find the same things interesting. And maybe that's why Tome likes working there, because she finds she finds camaraderie and a connection with Reigen. Which is so sweet. I love the relationship that Tome has with Serizawa and Reigen. It's so sweet. It feels it doesn't feel like it does with Mob, because like with Mob was in some way, shape, or form getting used for his powers. So there's always kind of that sleaziness. But here, Reigen does feel like a big dad figure where he's like, okay, I'll take you under my wing. You can work here, but be careful. It's dangerous. Like I love that there's no pretense of using Tome, but he lets her stay there and work. And it's really super cute. Also, like the very first chapter ends with a little shot of Mob. Should have seen it coming that he was going to be the cameo at the end. I honestly didn't think Mob was showing up in this. Totally surprised. Totally happy that it happens. I love some of the ways that one draws Reigen in this, especially towards the end, are really good. And then Serizawa does look different in the manga than he does the anime, but it's fine. I live for Serizawa and Reigen's dynamic, that they work together. It's so wonderful. And then probably the funniest damn joke in this whole manga was the joke where they actually have Reigen finding the ghost in the closet, and he's like, oh, thank God, we could have had a lawsuit. I love that Reigen's like, thank God that worked out, and that guy could have sued me, and I would have been in trouble. I love it. But Tome getting to see spirits, she can see Dimple. The Hoshida boy, I like that the most popular boy in school is like has a crush on Tome and wants to like earn her affections. I'm like, I'm rooting for you, Hoshida. I'm rooting for you indeed. But man, can we talk about one being a horror manga writer? Because I don't know if one has plans for other series after Mob Psycho, if he started them already, or what the deal is, but he has a future in horror manga if he wants to, because there were some like creepy ass shots in this manga that I'm like in my room here alone being like, I don't know if I want to read this. I'm a little freaked out. Like, it was kind of scary, right? Kind of scary. And then, of course, all the girls want to know the scary gossip. I like the fact that Tome has been trying not to tell people about her part-time job, and then she brags about it, and the guy's like, well, now you have to, like, get this official. And I love that Reigen doesn't tell her no. Reigen's just like, I hate filling out these forms. This is so stupid. Like, I like that Reigen just does it begrudgingly, and it's like, but you're not getting paid, so... But yeah, it's great. And I like that by the end of the series, the one guy, the guidance counselor, is like, okay, since you kind of saved my neck, I'm not going to say anything to the administration because otherwise they wouldn't approve this, but you did the Lord's work, so we're all good. But yeah, the one ghost that turns out to be the evil spirit, right? And Reigen kind of didn't like debunking the whole like classmate that died sort of thing. Reigen kind of does the same thing he does to Tome that he does for Mob, where he instills the power temporarily onto her. It's really cute. And she's just like, well, I'll go help him. And then, yeah, no. Well, honestly, what the creepy ghost reminded me of that possesses the guidance counselor, the creepy ghost, what it reminds me of is, did you ever read those like American horror stories? Like as a kid, they're like, they're horror stories, but they have like these creepy black and white ink drawings. I was fascinated by them as a child. It was scary stories to tell each other in the dark. I was fascinated by it as a child because I thought the artwork was so like grotesque and creepy, but it was beautiful at the same time. I was so entranced by it. But there were all these scary stories. They always freaked me out as a kid. But the artwork reminds me a lot of it. It's freaky. I'm like, one, if you want to create a horror manga, you go right at it because I will not doubt you and your abilities. But yeah, I love the lesson that Reigen tells Tome, though, of being like, you know, if Dimple hadn't stepped in to help get that spirit out of your guidance counselor, you could have seriously gotten hurt. So you need to be careful. Like these have serious consequences, right? And it's not just that moment, but when the girl's getting stalked by the one boy and Tome pours the salt over him and Reigen's like, look, you can't just do this. You need to be careful, right? Dimple is great. Dimple is wonderful in this manga. I love that he's instantly like, just fire her. He's like, she's a liability. She's in danger. I love the dynamic that Reigen and Dimple have. It's beautiful. Like, the dynamic the two of them have is so fun. Like, just because Dimple takes no shit from Reigen, and Reigen likes to push Dimple's buttons. I love her, like, catching Dimple in the net. And the fact that Tome calls him Little Dimple, and he gets so offended, is just, it's absolutely amazing. I freaking love it. I like the art style of this. The art style of the manga is great. At times, you can see where Bones got the influence for Reigen. At times, it looks nothing like it. But what's fun about it is it's very dynamic, and you can feel like the Mob Psycho energy from the anime the same way it is in the manga. Dimple, however, looks exactly the same. Dimple looks the same no matter what, which is hilarious to me. But then Hoshida. I kind of like the subversion that Hoshida is the popular boy in school. He's the handsome boy, but he's into like the occult things. I think that's kind of cool. I like that. I like the image of Dimple melting into Reigen's head. And then Reigen trying to point out to Tome just how serious. The dog poop incident is ridiculous. It's like the one like vulgar farsing joke, which I'm like, I did not need to see a dog pooping in a Mob Psycho manga, but here we are. And then at first, they try to like pawn Tome off with Hoshida, the handsome dude, because they're like, oh, well, if she dates Hoshida, she'll have no time to bother them and be involved with the psychic, with the spirits and such, and we'll be fine. And that's when the boy, like, their plan horribly backfires when the boy realizes the only reason he's with Tome is because he's interested in the haunted and the occult, too. I love that shot of Dimple and Reigen both being like, our plan is ruined. Like, it's so great, right? It's great. But then the introduction of Rushudo that looks like if Ritsu and Mob grew up to be a salaryman, that hasn't slept in 3 years. That's Rushudo. And I'm glad he had kind of like an overall like role in this. He wasn't just like a sleazy con man like Reigen, which he is, but then he brings back the ghost that ends up possessing Tome, and Reigen has to end up taking it from her. I liked the role he had in this. I felt bad for Hoshida, because Hoshida like ends up getting kind of abandoned by him once you figure out he's a fraud. But man, Reigen's face with like the grisly teeth where he's like ha-hawing Rushodo, that was hilarious. And them going back and forth of who can name drop psychics better. And then the moment that Reigen's like, well, I know Mob, Ritsu, and Teru, so what you got? I was like, yeah! Also, it's cool to see Teru with the current hair that we see at the end of episode 12. And then we see Mob and Ritsu looking the same. It's great. I love the back and forth between Rushodo and Reigen. Again, you would need a movie to fully capture all of these characters and everything. You need a movie to make it work, right? But the climax would be amazing with Reigen taking the spirit away, taking the curse on, and then going through the forest. Bones would animate that gloriously. I would watch the hell out of that. I'd be like, yes, please. Like, that's so good. But I like the fact that Reigen and Serizawa kind of like tail Tome to figure out where she's going, and it's like the Sun Psychic Union. And I like that Serizawa's on board being like, no, this thing seems kind of weird. And then they meet up with Shinra, with Judo. We see all the familiar faces. I love the whole psychic index ratio. As a joke, everybody's like, why don't I know what that means? And it's just some made up bullshit that Reigen did. It's great. But yeah, the creepy stuff, the creepy aspects of this manga are just absolutely well done. Like the creepy aspects about not looking back, the way that things are drawn, the shadowing and shading. It's just like, it's something else. The sad thing is both Takanaka and Hoshida, they both like Tome seemingly. And Hoshida makes like several advances, and Tome just goes like a UFO over her head. Like, just, she doesn't get it. But man, you know it's bad when Serizawa's like, we really shouldn't be here. This place is like super haunted. It's very creepy. And the idea of the ghost leading them through the like dead branches and them getting scratched and cut up by them. So creepy. So creepy. The way that one draws it is just Very, very creepy indeed. And then they start to see like the bones and everything. Oh, it's bizarre. And Serizawa telling him to get lost. I love it. I love it. And then Reigen shows up telling them to move backwards. It's great. That whole scene was just so creepy. So creepy indeed. But Rushoto, he ended up leaving the scene of the crime and getting possessed by another curse. So the idea of the curse in the woods calling after them to try to get them to come after them and being convincing is terrifying. Like, that part was creepy as hell. And I love that Tome proved who she was to Reigen by going back to episode 8 of season 3, the little stone that was given to her as a gift by the aliens. And Reigen saying, don't ever lose it. That proves who you are. I love that. It's just such a good moment. And then poor Hoshida, he tries to like admit that he loves Tome and he wants to go on a date with her. And she wants to become a psychic instead. And then by the end of the series, Hoshida's like, well, then I'll become a psychic and be worthy of your love. I do love when Tome's trying to bend the spoons to become a psychic. And I love Dimple's, you're banned! I feel like that should be a meme where Dimple's like, you're banned, get out. It's great. The Serizawa little thing of him with a 5 o'clock shadow. Hell yes, please. Yes, yes. And so I like that the scene with Serizawa and Tome is really good. And I feel like at this point in the manga, we get to chapter 5, it's called Advice. And I feel like that whole chapter is one doing kind of like what happens in the show, but making this big grand statement about psychic powers and about waiting, about not taking on responsibility. Because she's like, well, if I had psychic powers, I could do X, Y, and Z. And Serizawa's like, yeah, you could. But also, you know, at the end of the day, do you really, you know, you don't need psychic powers to change the world. Like, if you are waiting on psychic powers to do these things when you could already be doing without them, then are you really going to do them once you get the psychic powers? He's like, I don't think you will. He's like, I love that message of you can do things now without being superhuman. You can do things to help your world, small gestures to help make it better without having to rely on psychic powers. I like that Serizawa, of all people, gets this moment to kind of talk it through with her and be like, hey, yeah, you know, it's okay if you don't have psychic powers. You can still have a positive influence on the world. I love that, right? It's great. He's like, you don't have to strain yourself looking for a role in life. And then, yeah, the little Dimple, you may stop that immediately. Address me as Mr. Dimple. Absolutely freaking love it. Love it. Love little Dimple and how angry Dimple becomes at it, right? And then she, in turn, from learning all this from Serizawa, she in turn asks Dimple about what the afterlife is like. And he's like, I don't know. Like, I like that Dimple is honestly like, doesn't have an answer for her. He's like, He's like, I can't tell you these things. But he, kind of like Serizawa, says, look, why are you focused on this? Like, why aren't you focused on the mysteries of your own reality than what's beyond it? He's like, you don't even understand the mysteries of your own world that you have answers to right in front of you. Why are you so focused on the paranormal? Why are you focused on the afterlife? Don't worry about it. Worry about what's in your life at this moment. And I love the message that Serizawa and Dimple give to Tome in this specific chapter. And then Reigen shows up and he's like, wait, what? Like, did I miss something? And then he talks about being on his own. And it almost seemed like he was going to tell her he didn't have any powers. But then he goes to the salt control. And Dimple's yawning in the panel, which makes me yawn. I'm like, damn it, Dimple. He yawns in the panel. But then Reigen has like the super chiaroscuro, like super etched, inked version of himself throwing the salt. It's ridiculous. I love it. And we find out about the salt splash. I will give Reigen credit this. Like, Tome, for one, Tome like dumping the salt on the guy, and then Reigen coming next to him. Reigen like going up to the guy and being like, hey, look, that's cool that you like her friend, but, you know, you've got feelings. You need to communicate and find a way that's acceptable. This isn't. Stalking a girl's not acceptable. And I'm like, thank you, Reigen. Thank you, sir. We love you and everything that you teach us. But Reigen's like, this is not acceptable. Find some way to talk to her that's acceptable. And also, I do haircuts. I love that Reigen's like on the side being like, yes, I do professional haircutting. It's fine. Don't ask. I love that. I absolutely love it. And then Tome, Mr. Reigen. And I like that Reigen teaches her. He's like, look. He's like, you could have been in serious trouble today. I like that this is the point where Reigen chooses to tell her that he doesn't have powers. He's like, look, and you know he's learned this from Mob, right? But Reigen's saying, you could have been in serious trouble, because what if that hadn't been just a kid? What if that had been an adult? And what if you had gotten assaulted or hurt by him? He's like, He's like, you need to know the truth. I don't have any powers. I'm not special. And just trying to, like, counting on me isn't going to bring you what you desire. And he tells her to be careful on her way home. And what I was afraid was that she was going to, like, quit being herself. And she was just going to quit being herself and go back to, like, trying to gossip with the girls. But that's not what ends up happening. Not in this. She ends up... We get this, like, amazing spread about the girl, about Alba. Her whole history in an entire page. Like, what the fudge is up with her? And then we cut to Tome seeing her again. But Tome is kind of, like, over it. And even Hoshida is trying to, like, get her on board with, like, the occult chips. And she just doesn't want to do it anymore. She's not interested. She's not trying to have the job. And it seems like she's just lost all interest. And the moment she starts contemplating getting into the girl talk is when she finds out that the one girl likes stand-up and wants to be a comedian. And then the revelations about the other girls all start to come out as well. I like the one girl that draws manga. It looks like she's drawing, like, boys love, which I'm, like, all about it. It looks like an old man and a young man, like, together in suits. I'm here for it. But she finds out that all of her classmates have these very quirky hobbies, and they all kind of come together because of it. And she's like, why was I being so obstinate? Like, we're not, like, things aren't so boring after all. We're all the same. We all these quirks. And then she's like, maybe I was too cold to Mr. Reigen. Maybe I need to go apologize to him and be like, he was just trying to help protect me, and maybe I wasn't giving him the benefit of the doubt. But then, yeah, she stumbles upon Rashudo, who has the curse, and he gives the curse to her. And it's creepy. The curse part is creepy with, like, the little things, like the multiple faces and everything. It's awful. It's so creepy. And then Reigen comes in, and Serizawa tries to take the curse out of her, and it doesn't work. And Dimple tries to take the curse out of her, and it doesn't work. And so then Rashudo reveals that he went somewhere he wasn't supposed to, got this curse, and now it's going to destroy her. And then she apologizes, like, in her cursed form, she apologizes to Reigen. And he like, contacts Mob, but it's going to take some time before Mob gets there. So he's like, well... And I love that Reigen doesn't hesitate. Reigen doesn't hesitate at all. He, like, instantly, he hugs her and takes the curse. And I love that immediately afterwards, the first thing he says is, Tome, please don't file a sexual harassment complaint against me. But he takes on the curse himself. I'm like, that would be such a badass animated moment. Just that little scene, and then Reigen takes the curse from Tome. That's so sweet. Like, that's been being a hero. He took the curse on himself. Like, what a badass. That's the Reigen. That is what makes Reigen Arataka the hero. Because for a while, reading this, I was like, Tome's kind of the central character in all of this. She's kind of the main character. And Reigen's the main mentor that she goes to get advice from. But honestly, as you get through the manga, you realize, no, Reigen is the main character. He is helping her. And he proves himself as the main character by going back into that forest at the end, cutting in there, and taking that curse. And it's so genius. He takes the curse to the other curse that says you can't look back. and like makes him turn around and do it. And then it's so creepy and amazing. I love it. He just like gets the two curses locked in a battle against one another. And then as he's going out, he stumbles onto Mob. And the creepy, it's like not, it automatically doesn't feel like Mob. It's creepy enough. And he's like, the moment he said, I've completely eradicated the enemy, I was like, well, that's not Mob. And then the real Mob shows up. And I love the dynamic between Reigen and Mob in this moment, where Mob's like, how many times have I told you not to call me out of the blue? He's like, come on, master. He's like, I'm in cram school. Like, I just love that Mob's so candid with Reigen. And Reigen's just like, yeah, I know, it was an emergency. And he's like, I'm getting tired too, you know? Like, I love that they talk to one another like adults. And it's so cool. And then they go get ramen together, which is even better. And then Mob is trying to get Reigen to help him with cram school. The moment that Reigen says, I'm more of a humanities guy, I'm like, I feel you. I'm the exact same way. Trig, get out of here. Nobody wants to do that. I love that Dimple knows Trig. Dimple's like, I could help you this whole time. Like, I'm right here. I don't know. I love that Dimple like rattles off the formula. He's like, I kind of know it. So like, if you want me to help, I can do that. I just absolutely love it. And then Tome at the end, getting Reigen to help her friends. And Reigen just being like, and they all know who Reigen, because Reigen's all like, oh, what is this? I left a food in the oven. I gotta go. And Mob and Dimple are like, weaseled his way out again. I love that Reigen stays himself, and he has the moments where he's the con man. But at the end of the day, Dimple and them know that Reigen is a good man, and that you don't need special powers to be an amazing person that has influence on other people's lives, because Reigen proves that all the time. I freaking love that. That was amazing. I love that it ends on him being like that. It's so perfect, right? It's so perfect. This manga was just so good. It was so good. The cameos, the Tome focus, Reigen and Serizawa with Dimple. I love that the three of them were working together in this office. Like, what a dynamic. What an OT3. The three of them. I freaking love it. It's so cool. And just the idea of Reigen being this like central character that's influenced so many people and helps Tome to realize that she's okay the way she is, and everybody's quirky in their own ways, and Reigen's honesty with her. Like, it took him how many seasons to be honest with Mob? But I guess he learned his lesson, because he's honest with Tome right off the bat. But still rooting for Oshida. He's going to try his hardest to win her over. Hope he can do it. But this was such a delight. I absolutely loved this. So, what a great manga to read. What an awesome time. I hope you all enjoyed the reaction and discussion for this, but so worth it. So glad I read this. This was wonderful. So I am curious to know your thoughts down below about this manga. This was absolutely excellent, and we still have an audio drama to go and a live stream. So we'll see, right? But I'm curious to know your thoughts and comments down below. I hope they end up animating this one day. I would love to watch it. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back next week with some more Mob Psycho 100.